Don't you just love it when you buy a camera with a privacy tab and you slide it one way thinking you're opening it and you actually close it instead? Boy, isn't that fun. What a way to start this stuff. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay. Unfortunately, this means that this is 3 streams and 3 sets of notifications that have gone out today, so now I gotta wait before anything will get notified again. So even though I just fixed that wacky world of MultimediaJay, it's gonna have to wait until Friday afternoon or something, or Friday evening, before notifications will actually go out for it. So fundamentally, yeah, it's just this thing that YouTube does. 3 notifications within 24 hours. That's really the maximum amount of stuff you should be doing on YouTube if you want people to actually know that it's happening. Alternatively, could always just put that in some kind of community post or something, and then people can catch up on it later. But it has been a really depressing week. This is technically the end of the vacation, and we're technically into just the regular weekend tomorrow. And this has been probably the most painful vacation I've ever been on. So, just soreness and stuff from the job and everything. And look, there's been numerous examples over the last couple of weeks with the 9-to-5ers where they worked hard to try and get a day off somewhere, or something or another, some kind of artificially making things harder, and I don't think it was worth it. Because the team wasn't equipped to handle it, and quite frankly, what's the point of having an extra day off if you work so hard that you're too tired to actually enjoy that day off when it finally gets there? I think that's kind of a synthetic example of what's wrong with these folks. We work too hard to get Christmas and New Year's Eve off. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve off, but at what cost? So, So yeah, leftover stuff from everything that was going on pretty much wrecked the vacation, even though I was able to get the time in for it and everything. And of course, we have weird stuff going on in the next 2 weeks when I get back anyways. So, all right, let's talk about some stuff that's been going on, particularly with me and this channel. The name's MultimediaJay for a reason. And if people can't respect that, it's time for them to unsubscribe. Not like there hasn't been a lot of that going on anyways. This YouTube channel has gotten nowhere in the last 2 years for all of the same reasons. All of them related to demographics. I talk a lot about the tech videos because of the problems they've caused. But there's a very specific reason why I keep singling out the tech videos. They are not my only problem on this channel. Some of the problems related to the tech videos also happen with gaming videos as well, and some of the toxicity that I see in the YouTube computer community and things like that, I also see on gaming channels. And there's certainly no shortage of problems on Twitch with people being toxic in gaming communities on Twitch as well. The thing is, with the tech videos specifically, there are few greater figurative punches in the face that you'll experience as a content creator than feeling like you have to be something you're not in order to get an audience. Now, what grew YouTube? The ability for nobodies to become somebodies. Put in the work, and you'll be rewarded for it. And yet, what have partners been complaining about for the last nearly 10 years now? How that doesn't happen. How there seems to be blatant favoritism for commercial organizations or people that are handpicked to do well, to illustrate to people that, look, the algorithms can support you, even though there's people working hard on YouTube and not actually getting supported. And then there's the lip service we hear from YouTube's administrators about things like the community guidelines apply to comments, don't harass people in the comments, but who has actually lost their account because of comments? That's the thing. There's certainly plenty of comments still floating around out there that if this really were something that YouTube was going to follow through on, we'd see this uproar by now about censorship because people were getting banned because of comments they were posting. It's not there, though. So where's the evidence that the whole thing about applying the community guidelines to comments was anything more than just a way to placate creators and keep them from mass abandoning the platform? So here's the thing, though. I mean, I like technology. It was fun. It was fun tinkering with the computers. It was not fun ending up with an audience that wants me to do absolutely nothing else and will pretend I don't exist if I don't do one thing and one thing only. which would be the definition of killing your channel by being old, tired, worn out, you ran it into the ground, etc., when you're making the same videos over and over again, essentially. This is not a MultimediaJay problem, though. Not even close. It happens with computer videos all across YouTube. I was looking through some comment sections since all the depressing stream last night, and I've been looking at some of the things people are saying about people building computers. And it's just outrageous. There's just so many people out there that just don't really care. They just want to hear themselves talk. And do they really think anybody's going to take them seriously if they walk around like some giant professor lecturing everybody on the little things they're doing wrong? And how does that not cause a snowball effect? How does that not cause a snowball effect where someone thinks that people aren't taking him seriously? Well, I know stuff. People should take me seriously. And yet they keep on just telling off everybody they run into and people don't take them seriously. Therefore, they've manufactured their own misery. You can learn a lot about how people make themselves miserable by learning about how people manufacture their own misery in life. When they set themselves up to fail and then cry about the fact that they failed. It's not funny. And it's not respectable to do that. And it doesn't even make any sense, but it happens. It absolutely happens. Just look at anybody out there who's had any kind of unrealistic expectation about anything. Relationships are huge for this thing, by the way. You ever look around like single sites at some of these dating profiles out there and you see what, for example, oh, well, Jay, you're not married with kids or anything like that. Have you seen what kind of attitudes there are on dating sites? Holy crap. You have people who will openly admit that they have 3 kids from 3 failed relationships and they're looking for someone serious because they're sick of playing games. It's just like, you were one way in your 20s, one way in your 20s, that's going to have consequences in your 30s and 40s. I mean, just the way life goes. But there's just so much of this, you'd better do everything I want. And I'm starting to think, one time I heard this being discussed in terms of Neoplatonism. There's this idea in philosophy that we have these ideas in our head about the perfect something or another, and then we therefore go around measuring everybody we meet against that perfect standard. It's one of the reasons why I'm talking about like constructs we build in our heads of people and parasocial relationships with YouTubers and streamers and things like that. Because if you go around with this idealized view of somebody or something in your head, guarantee you the real world version of whatever you're thinking of is not going to match up to that, and you are persistently going to be disappointed. And so we see people looking for unicorns on these single sites, and they get somebody who, believe it or not, is a real human being with real weaknesses, shortcomings, and flaws, and personality flaws and things like that. They weren't the one. Dump them. I just can't find anyone good to get together with. Yeah, because your standards are based on your standards are based on perfection, which doesn't exist in this world. So you have this idealized construct in your head of what you're looking for, and you refuse to acknowledge that imperfect human beings are not going to measure up. And so this also applies to YouTube as well. People get ideas about creators, and then they just will not accept that they are the way they are, not the way that they wish they'd be. And that's what's happened with the tech videos. I mean, I like tinkering with technology and whatnot. I hate what it has done to my channel. Early days of YouTube, MultimediaJay, mixing things up with a mixture of talking about computers, presentations, things like that. The original opening to the original videos, some of which you can watch on Dailymotion, by the way. I'm going to be cleaning that out and turning the Dailymotion channel into an archive of older stuff, so people can see where I've come from with all this stuff that is embarrassing to watch now that I've been doing stuff on YouTube as long as I have. When you start seeing some of these videos that were made to be 100 megabytes max size, 10-minute 100 megabyte limit, you'll see just what exactly YouTube has built up. And maybe some of you people who have this idealized view on YouTube and then get upset when YouTube doesn't measure up, again, that behavior, might actually have a little more respect for what Google bought and built up. Not just what they bought and YouTube built it up with Google's money. We're talking about a situation where the YouTube of 2021 has so many things that blow away the YouTube of 2006. By far. It's just everybody ignores all of that in order to focus on the other stuff. They focus on the stuff that ticks them off instead of anything that is any good in that respect. So that's the issue here. You have this view in your head of the way people are, and when they're not that, it's terrible. It's this horrible thing. Oh, really? Yeah, they're the way they are instead of the way you wish they were. And that's why I brought up what it is that I brought up with Mark from Classic Game Room. Classic Game Room shut down in 2019 permanently. Mark stated and has stated quite clearly the reasons why that happened. It's on CGR Publishing's website. Mark blatantly had a situation where he was frustrated with YouTube, and then the publishing stuff he was involved with started taking off and doing better business-wise than the YouTube stuff he was doing, as a professional content creator, mind you. So the whole situation with YouTube was a nightmare for him in the end, and he understandably left and decided to move on with his life. But look at the comments on his 80s comics, as the channel's now called, reviews. People will not stop bothering him about CGR. Now, here's the problem. What if Mark came back right now, brought back CGR right now? Who would he have been catering to? People that have been trolling him, people that have been disrespectful to him, people that absolutely cannot accept that he is who he is and not the way they wish he was. It's ridiculous. I'm sure this happens with music groups and stuff too, like old music groups and stuff along those lines, where people can't accept that the music groups have moved on and things like that. Either way, let me just load up a few things here. Manage. Let's see when we drop down into the 3820s. Yeah, keep an eye on the. I'm keeping an eye on the sub count. I'm expecting it to drop into the 3820s by tomorrow, because I know the way people are. You stand up for yourself, people stick their nose in the air and they just mince away. Seen it a lot. Now, let's talk about this post-roll ad thing. I went and deleted a video that was one of my best videos in 28 days. It had some of the most views, and guess what? It was a radio-style segment from the Twitch channel, filmed with the old camera that looks like a bad webcam compared to this. So, here's the thing. I had issues with post-roll ads on YouTube because I had legitimate concerns that post-roll ads would step on the toes of end screens. End screens are one of those ways you get people to binge watch your content. So, if you have an ad cutting into the end screen, then that's a problem. At the same time, post-roll ads were turned off by default on most uploads. So anytime you saw a post-roll, you could know that the creator turned it on. In more recent weeks and months, people at YouTube have admitted that post-rolls being turned off was not intended. If people turn monetization on, it should all be on. So that is something that they wanted to address. Now here's the thing though. Speaking of addressing things, YouTube has addressed my issues with post-rolls because post-rolls will always be after the end screen. What I thought was post-rolls getting in the way was actually a mid-roll that was way too late. But now we see with a lot of YouTube videos that the last ad break will often be notably and comfortably before the end screen comes up. So you're 20 seconds or so for the end screen, you're good. So you have all that going on. The issue is resolved. Yep, the issue is resolved. But the post-roll issue is completely fixed. I have no more quarrels with YouTube over post-rolls. Except the radio-style segment talking about this started getting all kinds of views, and it was up to a couple hundred views before I deleted it. That's YouTube for you. I don't know if it's the algorithm screwing around with the video and giving it views after it was relevant, or people that want to be malicious because I said I didn't like post-rolls and now I have post-rolls again. Well, that's because YouTube fixed the problem. My concerns have been addressed. I do not have a problem with YouTube trying to pay its bills. None. It is YouTube's decision how they go about doing that. And it is also YouTube's responsibility if they destroy the traffic to the platform with too many ads. The ad thing is something for YouTube to figure out. I don't manually place ads. The AI places them. If the AI places too many, that's a YouTube problem. I can always go in and just mass select all the monetized videos and say regenerate the ad breaks in case the algorithms have gotten better at it. I actually have done that a couple of times, thinking that maybe things got crude with some older videos and have it regenerate everything. But I have no problem whatsoever with YouTube trying to pay its bills. This stuff doesn't run off of spit and elbow grease. The cost of hosting video on the internet used to sink people's websites that were trying to do that if they weren't large and established before YouTube existed. Bandwidth costs were the big one. Server hosting and bandwidth costs. Some of that is still reflected today in platforms like, what's that one that I almost never use? Vimeo, I think, has it. Vimeo, I think, has a surcharge if your video goes viral because they're selling the space to host videos up to a certain traffic amount, like they're selling web server space on the internet. If you talk about, for example, buying server space to host a website, this is the kind of structure, this is the kind of cost structure that you're going to be dealing with. So that's where we're at with all that. I mean, what YouTube has done for society by this service being free and unlimited is nothing short of amazing. This in no way says that the problems with the automated systems haven't been frustrating as all heck, and at times intimidating. But if YouTube's content degrades because creators are too intimidated to properly express themselves, that's a platform problem. It doesn't have to be a you and me problem. It's just part of the reason why there needs to be more competition in this space, which is why I support, for example, big tech regulation in the 2020s. Because I think, the attitude towards, for example, getting banned off of YouTube and Twitch and not being, allowed to create new accounts and stuff. So here's the issue with that. Maybe once upon a time, these services could be viewed as an optional service that you just did and you had fun or whatever. It was no big deal if you lost it. But with everything you can do on these platforms, if you get banned, say, at age 22 for, inappropriate content, and you've matured by the time you hit age 32, then what? I mean, you've really lost a lot if you get banned from these platforms. So I think really there needs to be some kind of reform in that area. Also, how about, for example, automated systems enforcing the rules and screwing up because the computer wasn't working right? And people sometimes had their channels destroyed because the system wasn't properly policed, or there was too much bureaucracy, or there wasn't any real human side to any of what was going on. That's a problem too. So you have these issues with these platforms. You have a major, major issue for pretty much the rest of your life. If not only can you not own accounts, what if there are things like Twitch's banned streamer rule, where you can get other people in trouble if you show up on their streams? I'm curious if there's ever going to be a situation where a Twitch streamer gets banned in their 20s, matures by the time they hit their 30s, and gets one of their friends in trouble because they're a banned streamer showing up on a stream 10 years later. Assuming Twitch is even still around. But that's just the thing here. There's talk of broadband service being treated like a public utility because broadband internet has become a very baseline service in people's lives. It's not a nice to have. It's not a luxury. You need a good internet connection to apply for jobs. And in this day and age where people are doing things remotely, which now that companies have gotten used to it, I don't expect it to go away after the pandemic. Now that this is an issue, I think that the ability to do stuff like this is going to be something more baseline. So we're past the point where these services can be viewed as nice to haves, and access to these services can be viewed as nice to haves. And so it's time for rules of the road. Time to get rid of the Wild West culture once and for all, because quite frankly, we're not there anymore when some of the largest companies in America are involved in these kinds of things. When you have somebody the size of Google in charge of services like YouTube, affecting the whole world, even though the business grew out of California. Really, this is the sort of thing where sometimes companies get too big, and you have to establish, look, if you're that size, you have to behave this way. We already do it with utilities. It's time to do it with these services and end all of this, variable bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it. I'd even go so far as to say that when it comes to policy making, really, these companies have to look at the way they come across to others in terms of not everybody is going to have a background in corporate America and understand the certain nuances of certain policies right off the bat. If YouTube is to be remain a viable service, especially if more competition becomes viable, like say Facebook or even if Twitch decide to get into more evergreen stuff, if YouTube decided to get into this kind of, if YouTube wants to remain competitive, some bozo who's never had anything to do with corporate America needs to be able to express themselves on here without getting some kind of haha gotcha because they don't have any idea about corporate culture. That's the thing. So, anyways, the name's MultimediaJay for a reason. The reason I'm bringing this up is, of course, the issues with the tech videos. Now, why don't we go down some of the other demographic issues with the other types of videos that I've made over the years. The thing with the tech videos is that I'm just disappointed that the tech videos can have the problems that they've had and even still to this day cause problems like last night, where it just felt like I could manipulate into either having an audience or not having an audience just by rambling on about the same computers over and over again. Next thing I know, I'm getting lectured in the chat, higher concurrence, yay. And when I try to be myself, everything's lower. And I get the messages and the DMs and things like that. Or the comments, which just delete them and I see them. Talking about, oh, your channel's dead. Da-da-da-da-da. You failed. You did this. You did that. Yeah, huh? So you work hard on something only for people to just opine from on high, many of whom are sock puppets with nothing to show for the words they're throwing around. It's one thing when you see that in 2006. It's another thing when you're still seeing this crap in 2021. And especially when you're seeing it on other people's channels, too. It's interesting. One of the comments I read about what happened with Mark, with Classic Game Room, is somebody writing this big essay in his comment section about how Mark made a gigantic mistake moving away from Classic Game Room. And I look at because YouTube's been like this for years, I click on the username to see, okay, who is this guy? Barely any subs, barely any videos, barely any views. To his credit, not a total sock puppet, but this is somebody with like 2-digit subs getting all professor preachy mode or whatever about Mark deciding to move on with his life, who was far more successful at CGR than this guy's ever been on YouTube. And he's the one just rubbing salt in the wound. Yeah, I'm very, very sure that these people leaving these comments are totally endearing Mark to ever want to make a video game review ever again. Especially when CGR had some issues where it really wasn't progressing forward with the way YouTube was progressing forward. I mean, I know Mark was upset about saying his channel was going backward or whatever, but the truth is the format for what Mark was doing was not aging well. So I don't hold it against him that he decided to move on from things. So, you talk about game reviews. 5-minute reviews of video games with some footage and some commentary, one and done for just about every game in existence. How does that jive in a world where game streaming has taken off? And people can see other video games for themselves just by finding somebody who knows how to put on a good show. Like these people that aren't replacing the game sounds with like EDM and a bazillion things going on the screen like you see in some small Twitch affiliates over on Twitch. So, that's the thing. I mean, I talk about creators not staying on top of things and just freezing their channel in time and eventually going the way of the dinosaur. CGR was one of them. The format did not adapt, not even to support the way YouTube's gaming videos were going. Never mind the way that streaming was going as streaming took off. And I received some of the criticism myself. Play some stuff. Oh, look, no views. Yeah, well, I go to Twitch and I watch streams for video games. I don't watch videos on YouTube anymore. So I stream on Twitch and nobody watches. It's just, of course, these incidents were years apart and things like that. But and Twitch, by the way, is infamous for you can't grow on Twitch. The haves will just dominate and form a little soap opera of big personalities on Twitch, and the have-nots will never get anywhere. So, yeah, it's all who you know, all this other stuff. There is some attempt at technology with Twitch, but there isn't enough. That's the thing. Sad, because Twitch could be a very good competitor with gaming stuff if they ever decided to follow through on expansion plans like they did in the mid-2010s, before rolling it back, of course. But there we go. So yeah, the thing with, yeah, I mean, CGR would have kept going in the direction it was going, especially as streaming became a thing. And so there's a couple of creators too, even some tech video creators that I don't watch anymore because they don't know how to handle social media correctly. They make YouTube videos and they never bother to look at the world beyond YouTube and where YouTube fits in everything. And so it reflected in their content, and it also reflected in their posts on Twitter and other social medias as well, that they're just out of touch. They are pretty much only looking at other social medias out there because someone told them they have to, and you can catch it in the way they handle everything. And it just leads overall to you getting a better experience from people that know what they're doing, instead of people who wish that YouTube could stay 2007 forever. So, look, the world would not stay 2007 forever. Never mind YouTube. Never mind any technical stuff. So, either way, let me just get back to these community things here. The thing with the post-roll ads got all the views, and it started becoming a rising star after it was relevant. It's nuts. So that tells me either an algorithm not working right or people being malicious. Neither of those are interesting. Deleted them. So I absolutely deleted. I deleted the video. It was one of those horrible looking videos with the old webcam anyways that I brought over from Twitch during the summer. And this just goes to show, I mean, this was a video that was close to the top. This was a video that was close to the top of, not close as in trouncing the appliance videos. But relative to other stuff in its category, it was doing very well, and I deleted it. Yeah, so I will not keep stuff around if it's irrelevant and it's getting sent around and things like that. Could probably take down the video about the shutdown of Stickam, too. Except people haven't messed with me on that one in a long time. I used to get... But nowadays, I get, like, nostalgic comments where people are like, oh, yeah, I remember Stickam. So it's nice that that's happening. But either way, let me just show you some of what I'm talking about outside of tech videos. By looking at some of these, just refresh this here. Let me just, I'm going to read you some of the comments Mark gets. So we just have to mute a few things. Let's make sure we mute Firefox on the level with, on the application level. So we're going to open and close a lot of tabs here. I'm going to play some ads though. Okay, so the most current video that Mark has, everything's turned off because that's, of course, destination numero uno for people trolling. Yay, another commercial for Manscaped. We're going to play ads, of course, for Mark's videos. I have the sound turned off, so just double check. Silence. All right. Shogun Warriors 8 review. Let me look at some of these. I think we need some new CGR episodes. What do you guys think? It's about time. Totally agree. I remember watching as a kid. Wish you'd get it back. Yeah, well, if you go over to his publishing site, he says very clearly why he stopped making gaming videos. Here's one. Yes, he's just making an idiot of himself at this point. He is a true shadow of what he was. Let's see here. This hack collected all the free games he needed from his ignorant base and sold them all on eBay. Let's see. There's some nice things here and there. And some people are actually talking about the comics, but he's constantly getting spammed about gaming videos. See, what's this? Egging him for turning off comments, likes, and dislikes. He does it every time on the last video to hide the dislikes. F this guy. Actually, yeah, 102.76 on this one. So you got tired of video games? Hey, what'd you think of the PS5 reveal? See, let's keep on here. Disabled comments. Is he completely gone from YouTube? This dude really fell off the deep end. Yeah, so you get nonsense like this. You get nonsense like this. It's like, oh, your views have really dropped. Why don't you go back to what you did before? He's a doofus for it. Now he's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. He's making stuff that nobody wants, blah, 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 blah. And this continues. If you look at some of his comments, you look at some of the comments that he gets now, and these are people who just can't accept the fact that he is who he is, and I'm not one of them. I mean, I can understand that, a guy who's into video games might be into comic books and stuff like that. And he definitely showed signs that he had other hobbies besides video games. This guy just... So, I can't imagine that people think that their words don't have consequences on the internet. These people are giving themselves more things to complain about just by doing this. These people are just giving themselves more games or more things to complain about. Because who in their right mind would come back to a video series when they get treated like this because of it? And this is why I talk about what it is I'm talking about with stuff like this. What happened to this channel? The views went from 25K to 2K. The videos are all trash now. Never heard of this channel. It really hurts. See, some videos have 55 million views, and now you have stuff with only 400 views with so many subscribers. I felt it in my very soul. That's pathetic. And that's the way people get treated. Let me tell you something. One of the reasons why Twitch has grown is because of YouTube's failures. And one of the things that I see with people, it's enough reading that stuff. One of the things that people mention in terms of why do they do stuff on Twitch, one of the reasons why people are doing stuff on Twitch, despite the technological inferiority of the platform, no plan for DMCA, no plan for DMCA, strikes only, that, you know, you can get DMCA even for background music, and there's some people on there who have. I mean, all the things that people expect YouTube to do, Twitch is doing. I mean, the most recent DMCA that I heard about on YouTube was a 1 million subscriber YouTuber with a big ego who couldn't take criticism from some commentary channel with only 100 subs. And it made its way onto Twitter. So that's the thing. Abuse by individuals, but in terms of the record companies flipping out about music, that's more of a Twitch thing. It's one of the reasons why I think Content ID should be expanded and more creators should have more options. So I've had a couple situations where people have actually taken my videos and re-uploaded them without my permission. I'd like to monetize those instead of only having the choice to DMCA them. You know, if somebody, because there have been people that have benefited from other people uploading their content because it gives the algorithm more things to chew on. So none of these channels ever got anywhere. They got like maybe 5 views or something. Things along those lines. But by and large, you know, there's definitely things YouTube could do. But one of the things that you hear about on Twitch is people say, "Oh, YouTube's a toxic platform." Yeah, well, you can run into nonsense anywhere. And Twitch used to have that dubious honor. Remember when Twitch was the place where you'd always get DDoSed, you know, and stuff like that. And nowadays, of course, they've improved their technology and they're a lot stricter on these sorts of things. But I remember people swearing off Twitch, like Review Tech USA a couple of years ago, or several years ago now. So, hey, Twitch, you have no future if you don't do something about this. I couldn't even run in this video game stream for 5 minutes without people knocking me offline and stuff like that. So, in terms of this kind of stuff, it's just, so that's the thing. So when it comes to the computers and the systems, and even looking at what we were looking at for Monolith 2, which, no, I can't justify doing anything right now. There's just no motherboard that really looks interesting to me right now. Plus, the Ryzen 5000 processors are just too new, so the infrastructure hasn't caught up yet. I don't want to have to buy a garbage processor to update update the BIOS on a Ryzen motherboard. And if it weren't for Intel's problems with manufacturing and therefore power efficiency, which means they've lost versus AMD in that respect, I wouldn't even be looking at a Ryzen system. But AMD has just made that much progress. So, in terms of this other stuff, though, I mean, that's the thing. Multimedia is all kinds of stuff. It's not just computers. I just don't want a situation where I'm wasting my time if I'm not, you know, being fake and pretending to be something I'm not. There's people that have mixed me up with folks like Druaga and gotten very angry in the comments. I'm unsubbing. I thought you were going to be like Druaga, but instead you make stupid videos about random topics. Goodbye! Yeah, I've gotten that kind of crap before. It's just, that's the thing. I mean, is it hard to figure out that a guy named MultimediaJay is not just going to tinker with computers all day? I mean, Geek House Dark Mode. This is tech as far as I'm concerned. People just don't like that I consider it tech. They just want to see the same old computers over and over again. You know, Project Area, thinking of unplugging it. So, that's the issue here. That's the issue with all of this. And it's not just my channel. It's also tech channels as well. Hey, let's look at some comments too while we're at it. Let me go poking around looking at first PC build videos again. I did this during one of the streams I took down, but one of the problems is that those were hangout streams instead of hybrid streams. So I want to have something that's worth listening to after the fact. So let's see. First person view PC build guy. And here's the thing too. There's actually a game on, well, if we want to talk about Twitch, Twitch actually has as an expansion category science and technology. What exactly is going on over there, by the way? What sort of stuff? Let me just mute the, let's see here. Twitch.tv. It's muted, right? Yeah, it's muted. It's muted on a site level. Etc. Oh, I'm not even logged in on this browser. I haven't used it yet since redoing the machine. Well, let's go to browse and let's find the science and technology section on Twitch. Just going to look in and see what's over here. Search tags. Science. You can't even... Okay, well, that's because it's tags. And I have to scroll down enough to find the science and technology section, which is a smaller section. So again, the design of Twitch, very limited. Let's see, let's try. Oh, there it is. Science technology. Only 2,600 viewers on the entire platform. So there's improving, there's someone coding, there's live earthquakes from the Dutch earthquake something or another setup. Pet ducks and friends. There's people coding in Python. And it's all people are live streaming things like coding stuff and things like that. So yeah, there is a section. Yeah, so there is a section for science and technology, but it's minuscule. 2,600 watching out of 454,000 people following SciTech on Twitch. What kind of a ratio is that? It's nighttime too, towards the end of primetime, US East. Maybe maybe later on when US West is closer to primetime, it'll be better. In comparison, then again, look, these ratios are kind of blah anyways. This is kind of a hidden, like Rust, the big streamer game right now that everybody's playing. You know, because they're basically turning it into a soap opera, and it's basically taking the crown from GTA in terms of like GTA RP. This thing's messed up. Just gulped some air by mistake. So there was drops for it earlier, but Rust, as popular as it is, 402,000 people watching right now out of 3.6 million people who followed it. That's the limitations of live streaming. So when you see big streamers, they're anomalies. There are big YouTubers that don't get good numbers when streaming, and they stream regularly. There's just limitations to live streaming that don't exist with making videos, but everybody forgot about it because streaming's been this fad, largely because of failures at YouTube, namely the adpocalypse and the whole demonetization thing. But yeah, since getting this new drive working, I have not logged onto Twitch on this browser yet, so that's not working yet. So, got everything working again, but oh well. So, the only thing that's in stone in terms of if I wanted to replace my system would be Define 7XL for the case and AMD Ryzen of some sort as the processor. Nothing else is in stone, and with how much these things cost, how much all that stuff costs, it's probably not even worth it. All right, let's look at some of these comments. Let's look at some of these comments here from these folks. Here's somebody with millions of subs saying he's building a first gaming PC. So this is from 2017. Let's see here. Yeah, handsome guy on camera, and he has a pretty good camera setup. There's definitely a commercial element to what he's doing, and he probably has people working for him to get his name out there. That's why these channels get so big in so short a time. That's part of the ruse, where people think that you can get further on these platforms than you can with a certain amount of work, and they don't know what goes on behind the scenes for some of the big personalities out there. See. No clues about what he's doing. He's got money to build an SLI build. Me knows everything about building a computer. Has money for a $500 build stock cooler with no RGB. Well, let's see here. Yeah. I'm too late to tell you this, but you left the plastic on the graphics card. This is a guy This is a guy whose channel has grown to millions of subscribers. Let's see, is that true? Yeah, 3 million subs getting poked, being made fun of when he built his first PC. So it's outrageous. I mean, when you build your first PC, you're going to do stupid stuff. Period. You don't know what you're doing yet. But there's too much of this elitism out there saying, hey, go from zero to hero. Why? Do we want more people getting into technology, or do we want more people falling for stupid stuff like soldered on components and other stuff that companies use to take advantage of people that don't know anything about technology? Well, if you do this, you're pretty much sending money to companies that pull that nonsense. Oh, here's somebody, 162,000 subs, and building my first PC, probably a vlogger or something. And let's see here. You watch Linus Tech Tips? No, you are sure to drop something in this video. Oh, man. There's actually some constructive commentary. There's actually some constructive comments. That's a plus. Yep, there we go. But there's a difference always between your crowd and the algorithm crowd. It's usually the algorithm crowd that causes the problems. So in the case of the ad blocking on the tech videos, I think most of it is the algorithm crowd. So random people that are introduced and whatnot. But the thing is, it basically means that the videos will get less views because the systems will not pass them around as much and things like that. So I've got a situation now where food videos are taking off, the Ashens pastiches. Interestingly enough, a couple of months ago, I was talking about the age of the pastiche is dawning on YouTube. Because one of the things that the algorithms would probably look to do, if you think about this whole let's close all this. You think about this whole thing with what YouTube would program AI to do. So it's happening on Twitch, so I know YouTube's probably working on it because they can't be left behind on this. But anybody who is stylistically similar is going to start getting clumped together if they stay consistent enough. And so I imagine if you wanted to be linked together in the system, and how the algorithms work for you, you'd want to come very close to the style of someone who's already popular. And then the algorithms will pick up the visual similarities and kind of link everything together. Now, I don't know how deep the details go on this. So, I don't know how deep the details will go on this whole thing, but let me just give you an example that happened on Twitch. So, Yugi, one of the KIRL, Korean IRL streamers that I watch because I'm night shift. So I'm getting home in the middle of the night, which is the middle of the day over in that part of Asia. So country with a ton of technology and stuff like that, and Samsung stuff everywhere, of course. That's how I have the do-do-do-do-do thing memorized by now. Just heard so many streamers get like a push notification in the middle of the stream. Like, oh, look, yet another Samsung phone. Doesn't LG make phones over there? I don't know. There's all weird. If you learn about the huge companies in South Korea and what they've done to the business world over there, you understand it, even though it is bizarre, just what the huge companies like Samsung and LG have done and stuff like that. I don't think we have that here in the States. I think a lot of it is a lot of those companies are family businesses that became as gigantic as they are, whereas over here it's more publicly traded companies. But so here's the thing. Yugi goes over and meets with Haley, who's a streamer I don't watch because she got openly antagonistic with her audience. There's a very infamous incident where she basically did clickbait because thumbnails on Twitch are based on something that recently happened on stream. So she clickbaits people by posing a certain way and then makes fun of them when her concurrents shoot through the roof. So I was like, nah, someone who's antagonistic like that, I don't need to be watching that. But anyways, Yugi goes over to Haley's house. And okay, yeah, collab stream, whatever. I don't watch it because, it's the other person that's involved. But then I get recommended somebody else who went over that very same house because it was the same house and the same stuff was on camera. And so I find out about somebody else doing a collab with somebody I'm not even watching because of visual similarities in the content. So Amazon and Twitch have something like this going on. I think it's only a matter... Well, I know YouTube does have it. I know YouTube has it because there's numerous creators, and I was just introduced to one yesterday that I have to go check out their videos. So I've watched enough people doing commentaries on what I call the multimedia meta. Content creation, making videos, and streaming. I've seen enough of this stuff that YouTube is regularly introducing me to new people who do that kind of stuff. And that's the world we live in here in 2021. You have to take the technology into account. Many of these stream gurus or whatever don't do that. And so some of the advice they give is better than other advice they give because of this. So here's the thing with this, though. What this means is that, we've talked about this before, but might as well bring it up again. The algorithms on these platforms are working on introducing your audience to your replacements, even if they're still watching you. So if something happens to you, there's somebody else for them to watch, and the platform doesn't lose the traffic. So, just to give you an idea, again, on the Twitch side of things, watch enough of the streams that Yugi did during the summer. There have been 2 streamers now that their algorithms have introduced me to, get this, with very similar sounding voices. They could be sisters of this streamer that I've been watching for a while. I'm being introduced to people now who film in similar looking places and have similar sounding voices, so the audio is getting analyzed as well. It's crazy. And I know YouTube's had that for a very long time, because there's some people that found out about my YouTube channel because of me showing up somewhere else, like a podcast that wound up on YouTube or something like that. So I know the algorithms have been doing that on YouTube for years, but now here's Twitch doing it as well. It's just crazy, you know? So many people out there acting like we're all there is. It's just people. And so if your channel is failing on a platform, it's because of something you're doing. And yet the algorithms are the middleman here, to say nothing of Facebook. How many times have I seen people on Facebook with established Facebook pages complain about this? There's a service that Facebook had, boosting, where you pay them a surcharge and they would not hide one of your posts or something. So they'd send it around to more people and make it more visible, so people could buy their way into their posts being more visible. It's not unlike the things I've heard people say on YouTube, where huge commercial accounts are spending money to be on the featured page and whatnot. It's pay to win. There is no real thing about whether your content has any merit to it. What it is, technology playing favorites, or technology coming in the way of what the usual rules of the game should be. Another classic example of this is the YouTube subscriber system. How many complaints have there been for years now? When's my earliest radio-style commentary on that? How many complaints have there been for years now? Subscriber. I believe it was 2013. YouTube should ditch the subscriber system. Seven years ago, yes. Excuse me. Yeah, there you go. YouTube should ditch the subscriber system, complaining about how the subscription system, this one only had 400 subs back then, so. YouTube should ditch the subscriber system. There you go. And a lot of that was because it didn't work as well as, say, RSS feeds, which were a standardized technology that I watch podcasts with. There were problems even back then with people not getting notifications of YouTube videos that we're posting and whatnot. People weren't getting notifications for this kind of stuff. So way back then, we had YouTube technology being the middleman between an audience and people they wanted to watch. So yeah, it's bizarre. And at times it's depressing, because you have to catch yourself not blaming. You have to catch yourself and make sure you don't blame people all the time for stuff that's happening. There's always something technological that you have to think about. And it's just bizarre. Now, we talked very early on in the discussion about this whole demographics thing. And the tech videos, I've been passionate about the problems of the tech videos because I give a darn about them. People speak up about what they care about. But let's talk about some of the other stuff I've done and some of the demographic problems that it's had. Yes, it's true that the appliance videos are bankrolling a lot of stuff on the channel. The appliance videos bring in the most money and the algorithms pass them around the most. But what kind of people are going to watch things like the dryer video? Maybe people that casually search for like a Magic Chef portable dryer or something. Are these the kinds of people that are really going to become fans of the channel? Probably not. They're probably going to be fly-by-nights. Like maybe watch 2 other videos or something, but by and large, they're just looking for like tips and stuff. Now I can cater to this crowd. They run less ad blockers than that bankroll stuff for the tech videos and stuff like that. But at the same time, the fundamental problem with the whole ad blocker thing is that there is evidence from what I've seen in my numbers that videos that get ad blocked are not going to go around as far. Now you could say, it could also be the case, you know, that technological stuff is more niche compared to buying a new set of clothes or something. So a smaller potential audience because it's more enthusiast in nature. But the thing is, there's been a tech video that has been making the rounds one of my speaker videos from tinkering with speakers and subwoofers. There is a tech video that's been rising in the charts lately, and it has a higher monetization ratio than most of the other tech videos. So, there it is. I mean, there's a situation where, yeah, sure, maybe it's more enthusiast in nature, talking audio stuff and things like that. But this is actually a tech video that's doing way better than all the others because it's making more money, quite frankly. That's the weird stuff I see on YouTube. YouTube needs to split off. They say they do, but I don't believe it. YouTube needs to split off the money side of everything from this type of stuff. And if videos are popular and watched, even if they're ad blocked, they should not be punishing creators because of something someone else is doing. That's why I've been watching these numbers for 3 years, now going into 4 years. And that's also why I've been bringing this up consistently, to make sure that the awareness is raised that this is going on. Because it is kind of depressing to see that. They talk about gaming videos and stuff. There's similar stuff going on there. Often there's crossover between gaming and technology. So there can be toxic stuff on gaming videos too. And probably everything that I do is going to have at least one demographics problem. The thing is, it's always about who you attract and who you repulse. The repulsion part is not considered politically correct or whatever by some people. They're surprised when they hear you bring this up. But it's totally relevant. Luxury brands, for example, do this all the time. They don't want people buying their products if they don't have a lot of money. Because if they're not really a luxury brand, if everybody can afford them, and you see people that don't make any money walking around with some luxury whatever it is. So, this idea is not totally foreign in the world of business or in the world of doing media stuff like this. Not at all. Just a matter of having screwed it up as much as I've done. Oh, but you've gotten some views out of it. Yes, I have, and I've gotten a fan base out of it. And I've gotten it to now where I can just do a lot of stuff with computers, and there will be a jump in the numbers. I don't want to win a battle and lose a war, so to speak. If YouTube has this stuff going on, so this stylist for whatever reason, if YouTube has this kind of stuff going on, then basically the more I do of it, the more the channel's going to sink. Because the more enthusiastic people that watch more stuff are going to be the ones causing the damage. And that's something I've seen with some of the other attempts to make appliance videos be successful. Like there was one I did, let's bring up that one about the Sunbeam Hotshot. The Sunbeam Hotshot is probably one of the most useful devices, kitchen devices I've had of all time. What's it gotten up to in terms of views? 3 years, 692 views. What's the ratio on it? Bookmarks. Let's do ad blocker ratios. Last 28 days. Sunbeam is the only thing that's probably going to mention Sunbeam at this point. No matching filter. I thought it was going to do title contains Sunbeam. C. Filter. Device type. You can't search for it. Well, we can always look for it. We can always look for it in terms of the analytics. Manage videos. We'll just do it this way. Just do you. That's not the way it works on here. Good. The other Geek House dark mode is ready. Good. So now I'm going to go watch that, make sure it works correctly. We can finally get that out. Just got to figure out what to do about the lack of notifications, because it'll be the fourth thing in a 24-hour period unless I wait until after the stream. Let's see. February 12th, 2017. 17 comments, 17 likes, 692 views. Can I bring up some analytics on it? Etc. That's not what I'm looking for. Maybe if I click the video and do analytics for the video. Over the last 28 days. 18 views. There you go. This is another kitchen. It's a kitchen appliance video. Key moments for audience retention, 2 spikes. Intro, 2 spikes. People on average watch about 35% of it. Yeah, 18 views in the last 28 days. Yep, there you go. And it's an appliance video just like the washer and dryer video. And the George Foreman grill video, which has been spiking. Of course, some people are kind of pestering me about it because they think I'm a pig that never cleans the plates. The thing is, though, little do people realize that since filming that video, Spectrum Brands has actually improved the quality of the grill plates they sell for Foreman grills. So Spectrum Brands has actually fixed a lot of the issues that I bring up in the video. But that's not the way things work on YouTube. The video that people can latch onto and pester you over will get the traffic. Any video that fixes the issue or whatnot blown off. And this is, when you've been dealing with this stuff for years, it all adds up, and it really starts to mess with you. And so that's one of the reasons why I said what I said, and why I say what I say. You gotta look at how you treat others on here. And I know it's gonna be a challenge for nerds with no social skills like yours truly, and maybe people that are into computers and stuff that are more introverted and stuff like that. And I've seen some people doing tech videos that when they act on camera, give away signs that they don't really get how they come across to others. But it doesn't make it any less important. It doesn't make it any less important at all, because, I mean, if we want more people doing stuff with computers, we can't be tearing them to shreds because they didn't build their first computer the way we wanted them to. None of us probably built our first computer the way we wanted it, myself included. I mentioned this earlier, but since those streams were deleted, we'll just mention it here again. I did not build all of the Silver Bullet the first time. I couldn't take the risk of not having a working computer in college, so I had Multiwave Direct take care of the CPU and the heatsink cooler. Man, I paid the price. Not even the stock cooler for the Athlon chip. Cheap piece of junk, 60mm fan, Spies cooler. One of the loudest fans I've ever had in a computer, which is one of the reasons why I don't want a fan on a motherboard for any system that I build to cool the chipset. Because I don't want some stupid little laptop fan inside the computer when I've already gone to all the trouble to use a fractal design case with 140mm fans, so that way the fan noise is a nice, low, relaxing hum instead of "Wee!" And I don't care if it spins at a slower speed. Or, you know, the wind tunnel noise, like what I got from the Turd Shiba when I first got it. So, hey, why don't you use music? I suppose I could. Here. Is this thing still... Yeah, okay. Yeah, put some more songs in here and things like that. But that's the situation we find ourselves in. Too much of a distraction. Heck with it. We've certainly gone long enough without it at this point. If I sound a bit like AM radio, oh well. Good morning. This is the local AM station. We do all talk and we do all news. And surprisingly, people still listen to us. Tune in for our morning show with the morning commute, even though we're going to sound whiny and whatnot because we're AM instead of FM. What, you still drive a car with an AM radio? Thank you for tuning in. And now we're going to bring in our guest today for our talk segment. So-and-so owns the blah blah mom and pop hardware store on Lexington Avenue, downtown. Let's welcome, I know, this sounds like a radio version of public access TV. Oh, yeah. You know how many times I've tuned into AM stations and heard something along those lines? It's almost like you almost wish the whiny noise of the background noise of an AM transmitter would just drown things out even more. So, if you ever seen cringy public access TV, like a bank renting a studio for an hour, we're going to do this big show about mutual funds. I don't know what's better for helping you fall asleep, public access TV or government TV. And Connecticut, by the way, for those of you outside the state, has a state answer to C-SPAN. It's called CTN, the Connecticut Network. Nothing like a Board of Ed meeting streaming over the internet to help you catch some Z's. So, all right, as we pass the hour mark here, let's talk about some of what's going on. So the reason why I've been on vacation all this time and you haven't seen the video I'm looking for is there's a persistent problem that I'm running into with MP4s. As a format, MP4 has been a persistent source of problems for me. I have no idea why. Maybe I could read more about the science of how these things work to understand why they keep screwing up like this. But if you watch the video on You're a Twitch Affiliate, So What?, there's a persistent problem with phantom syllables being introduced every time I edit an MP4. So I take out the dead air at the end of the clip, and instead what I get is a phantom syllable, usually a repeat of something I previously said, for like a split second as the clip is transitioning. This is something that's introduced by the encoding process. I've tried actually having every single clip fade so the volume fades, and the phantom syllables are still showing up there. So volume control's not doing it. I've probably crunched the Geek House Dark Mode rest of the story video 7 or 8 times this week, trying to find some way to not have to blame MP4s for this. But the truth of the matter is that MP4s have been causing problems for me for a long time. Gaming videos in particular. If I record something with NVIDIA Shadowplay, it records to MP4, and if I edit it down, oftentimes the minute I've edited MP4, it suddenly develops audio AV sync issues with the audio. So MP4 has been a flaky format for a while now, but lots of stuff creates MP4s. So if I actually go to my options in OBS, I think I had this problem with OBS video as well. So I go to settings for recording videos. Hardware NVENC, video bitrate, advanced encoder settings, encoder preset quality. It could do MKVs. It could do MKVs instead of MP4s. See, recording format, MKV. I can't click on anything right now because I'm live, but I think I switched it to MP4. It's like, oh yeah, one less thing to convert. Well, no, not a smart idea. So I had phantom syllables. It's not just the camera. It's anything that's MP4. So recording like this in MP4 from OBS, phantom syllables the minute I edited it. So again, it's just, there's something specific to MP4. Now here's the problem. That nice camera I bought last year only records MP4s. Let me actually go to B&H Photo Video Pro Audio out of New York City. They have warehouses in New Jersey though. BH Photo Video. BNHphotovideo.com. And let me actually look at, oh, they're selling the new Canon Rebel. Ooh, new Canon EOS camera available. No, let's go to Sony. Shut up, I don't want notifications. Fresh web browsers, baby. Sony Handycam. I did really well with Handycams. They didn't record MP4s. New Sony Handycam. Why am I getting reviews first? I'm getting, look, I want to buy something. I don't want to. Hold on a second. Camcorders. Yeah, consumer camcorders. Sony looking for 60 FPS, not JVC. This UI is a little clunky. And I clicked Mevo by mistake. No, let's see. 8 Sony cameras here. I'm looking for one that's 60 FPS. There was one for about $400. The HDR CX455. This is the Sony equivalent of the Canon that I bought last year. It has support for headphones and an external microphone, and records up to 60 FPS at 1080-60. Yep, that's what I'm looking for 1080p video. Not doing 4K anytime soon. The internet will need some time to catch up for that. What does it, specifications, what format does it record in? Because if it records in MP4, it'd be a complete waste of money. Because my previous Sony camera does not record in MP4. It was some other format that I can't even remember what it is. I just knew that it worked in Corel Video Studio, so that was good. Recording media, system is NTSC, yeah. Ah, yeah, AVC HD. So, yeah, recorded in AVC format. That's what I've been using for with my tech videos for years. So, let me actually punch this in. I may have to spend a couple $100 on a Sony camcorder to get reliable videos that don't screw up half the time anymore. Anything MP4. AVC. Is there anything? Note, you cannot record MP4 movies. Is this for? Yeah, HDR. How to record and play MP4 movies. Okay. C. Help article from Sony. HDR CX455. To record MP4 movies, the dual video recording setting must be on, and both HD and MP formats will record simultaneously. There you go. So by default, it does AVC, and that's the format that has worked so reliably, and I don't think the Canon does that. That is huge. And so there you go. The Canon $200 camera last year, and now I'm at the part where because the audio keeps glitching, I would have to use it. It could do 1080-60. So what I would do with that camera is I'd use it for B-roll or something that doesn't require audio. It'll work for something like that. But here I was thinking, maybe I should get away from Sony for a while. The thing is, this HD camera that I'm looking at for Sony wasn't really I don't think it was out yet when I went and bought the Canon during the lockdowns last year. So, yeah, so here I am in a situation where in order to get reliable footage for videos, it's got to have to be AVC HD from a Sony camera. I don't think the Canon I have does it. I think it just records an MP4. So, stupid little difference, but it makes all the difference because you know what? I've noticed the difference between making tech videos and gaming videos with the last Handycam that I had, which also recorded AVC as well. It did not record an MP4. I had to convert to MP4 to upload to YouTube. So, yeah, maybe I should look at... You know what I should also do? Install the Elgato box. Maybe consider no longer recording gaming videos using NVIDIA Shadowplay. Get a second computer, like one of the Delosauruses over here, like Delosaurus Rex perhaps. Hook up the Elgato box to it, and then record using the capture box. Or maybe record using the capture box on here if I have the horsepower for it. But, yeah, that's definitely something. And now, let's address the elephant in the room here. Participants. How come I can't see anybody in the chat here? Concurrent viewers, 3. So, I'm guessing the tech folks left. There's the difference. That's what I'm talking about right there. You see, if I don't do computer stuff 24/7, I might as well not even be here. So, the name is MultimediaJay for a reason. But if I am actually somebody who looks at things like cameras and stuff instead of talking computers all the time, I take a hit. Such is the insular nature of the YouTube computer community. Seen it in videos, seen it in comment sections, seen it everywhere. Has anyone unsubbed while I've been doing all of this? Certainly been plenty of that going on. Really, we got to look at how we come across to others. This got old a long time ago. Unless you want tech videos, nope, not yet. Okay. Unless you want tech videos to become Linus Tech Tips and next to nobody else, and everything to be cookie cutter and stuff like that, we got to think about what we think about others. Same thing with the whole thing with Mark in Classic Game Room at the beginning of the discussion. People are blaming Mark, but the truth is, people decide to move on with things. There may be people you like working with that are going to decide to retire or leave a company or whatever. You got to respect that. It's all part of respecting people. Now, without further ado, let's see what I can do with this. Let me do some digging on some of these cameras that I have. Maybe do some game streaming late at night just to relax. Probably on Twitch. Not going to be any notifications that go out for YouTube at this point. I don't know. This vacation certainly hasn't felt like a vacation, and it's about time I did something about that. This is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.